China has reignited trade tensions with the United States after ramping up some sweeping new restrictions on the exportation of rare earth metals and the technology that is used to refine them. Now, these metals are essential for both a number of commercial goods, but also for the U.S. defense industry. And according to the Center for Strategic and International Studies, China mines about 60% of the world's rare earth minerals, and they also process nearly 90% of all of that. So this is a big deal. And what does all this these new restrictions mean for America, but also for U.S. and China relations? Well, joining me now to discuss this is Gordon Chang. He's a senior fellow at the Gatestone Institute. He's also author of many books, including Plan Red, China's Project to Destroy America, and you can follow him on X under the handle at Gordon G. Chang. Gordon, welcome back to Washington Watch. Thanks for coming on with us.
Oh, well, thank you so much, Jody.
Well, I know you have been a high-demand individual all over the place today, so we're grateful that we've been able to get you for a few minutes. Let's start with this, Gordon. Explain to us about what China actually has done with these rare earth restrictions and what it might mean for America.
On Wednesday, China issued regulations which were sweeping, and they enhanced the rules that they had talked about in April, where they put in place on restricting, as you mentioned, the export of rare earth minerals, processing technologies, all sorts of things, including drill bits. So this was comprehensive, and this was a violation of their agreements with us because after April 2nd, the Liberation Day tariffs, both China and the United States agreed to take down restrictions they had put in place. And so basically, China violated and clearly violated their obligations to us.
So Trump has responded, at least by a post on Truth Social, that he may financially counter this move. So what might that look like? He looks at this, and I think most of us do, as a hostile move. So what do you think a counter move by the president might look like?
There's so many ways, but I think primarily he's going to raise tariffs. Remember, we had tariffs, general tariffs above 100%. They were reduced by agreement with China. So now we have a general 55% tariff on Chinese goods. Well, that could go back up again, and it could go even higher than it was before. But there's so many other things that President Trump can do because the Chinese have been violating our laws. So, for instance, they've been money laundering through our New York banks. That gives us a lot of leverage over those. And just in general, Jody, we are the trade deficit country. Last year, China ran a $295.5 billion merchandise trade surplus against the U.S., which means that we've got 295.5 billion ways in to get the Chinese back.
Wow. Very interesting. So how do you see this playing out in terms of relations between the U.S. and China? I mean, the two presidents were scheduled to meet here pretty soon at the Asia-Pacific Economic Summit that's coming up. But is it likely now that they won't meet?
Well, President Trump in his Truth Social posting today said, no, we're not meeting. But, this is going to be largely determined about, and where we go from there is going to be largely determined about what happens in the Central Committee's fourth plenum in Beijing, which starts on the 20th of this month. There's a lot of leadership turmoil right now in China. We know that there is tension. We know there's infighting. We don't know exactly what's happening. And so that has got to be settled before we can have stable relations with China on trade or anything else.
Interesting. And so I guess the way President Trump counters all of this could have impacts as to what's happening even internally in China, you think?
Oh, absolutely. And that's a really important comment you made, because we know that Xi Jinping is fighting with a number of other Communist Party figures. And I'm sure Xi Jinping is being blamed for creating this tension. How this plays out will be very much determined by President Trump. And, this sort of highlights the fact that the most consequential developments in the world today, we know the least about them, because those consequential developments are the ups and downs of political figures in Beijing. We know that there are problems. We know that this is really important, but we don't know exactly what's happening.
Well, we're about to find out, I'm sure, a lot more. I mentioned this in the intro before you, as introing you and the whole topic here. But how dependent is the U.S. on China when it comes to rare earth mining and processing? I mean, it looks like they pretty much have the corner market.
Yes, I mean, the market is not so much on mining, because as you point out, China has a 60% share of mining of rare earths. But what's really important was that they've got about 92% of the world's processing of rare earths. And that gives them a chokehold on that. But over time, what's going to happen is we're seeing that we're investing in processing facilities. We're also mining more of this stuff. So China's stranglehold on the sector is going to decline over time. And the other thing, Jody, is that China is doing a number of things that are forcing deglobalization. China is the most dependent right now in its history on trade for various reasons. So basically what they're doing is, in the short term, they are taking actions that give it leverage, but in the long term, they are undermining their own position, because the biggest victim of deglobalization will be China.
Yeah, that's what I'm hearing with you talking, Gordon. It sounds like, and we've only got, about 30 seconds or so left, but it sounds like in many ways, short term may be one thing, but they're kind of in the long term digging their own grave with this.
Oh, absolutely. And we got to remember that in 2010, they actually did the same thing to Japan, but their export controls on rare earths to Japan collapsed within months. So there's a little bit of history there.
Gordon Chang, Senior Fellow at the Gatestone Institute. Always great to have you on Washington Watch. Thank you for joining us.
Well, thank you so much, Jody.